Hi everyone, Jathany J. Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd. And it's time for a review of this new KSI project all over the place. This is a brand new album from YouTuber, gamer, boxer, rapper, singer, all-around internet personality KSI, who is coming back around again just over a year with a new album of songs since the release of his last record, Dissimulation, which made quite a splash in 2020, not only because of its huge industry features, but it did some surprising numbers. 60K first week sales, the highest selling debut by a British artist in the UK for that year, which is certainly something to be proud of, even if the critical reception was a bit mixed. Personally, I thought the track list on this thing was a blend of bangers and flops. Look, from this record, it's clear KSI wants to write hits, and he shelled out the appropriate amount of dough to make it so between the production and features. But he didn't always showcase a professional level of lyrical and vocal muscle on this one. Now, between the reaction KSI did to my review and the interview I conducted with him shortly after the release of his album, he made it pretty clear that he knows that he can do better, he wants to do better. So considering he's right back at it with this LP, I hope that's the case and it's reflected in the writing and the singing. Now, with this project, we get another pretty impressive features list: Bugsy Malone, Future, 21 Savage, Polo G, Young Blood, Lil Durk, and the UK legend Craig David, just to name a few. And I have no doubt that once again, JJ shelled out the appropriate dough, or, made the deals appropriate to get some industry-grade beats on this thing. If JJ has proven anything with his last record and with some of the teasers leading up to this one, he does have an ear for what's popular, which is sort of what All Over the Place is all about, as advertised by its title. KSI on this record is just trying a little bit of everything: some trap, some drill, some dance hall, some more pop-oriented tracks, hip house. And you know what? He's doing much of it relatively well. Despite being all over the place, I think this LP is a more consistent listen than his last record, at least in terms of quality. Now, it's still the fact of the matter that this thing is very feature dependent, and KSI often ends up being the weakest link on a number of tracks here. The song number 2, for example, which is a part of this record I love pieces of. For one, the nocturnal and awesome beat switch toward the end, and the sick 21 Savage feature that happens after it. The Future appearance isn't really one of his best, but it's still better than what KSI offers here, vocally and lyrically. His rap flows are so quiet, distant, soaked in autotune to the point where he doesn't really have much presence on the track, certainly not as much as he does on others here. The track Really Love, though, is where we get most of the unforgivable lines on this record. Got a lot of time for the one that I'm watching, Amazon Prime, if you want to get something. Don't cook, but my chef like Ainsley. No look ting when I'm shooting my babies. Sounds wild. That booty got me moving with a stiffness, and also wrecking my balls, Miley. Those are two separate lines that are difficult to take there. And then also, let me know when you get freaky. Want to see E.T. Give you my number to bell, but E.T.? I guess that would be getting freaky. Yeah, I've never heard so many unsexy references to sex and attraction on a single song, which is odd because the song sounds fine. The Craig David feature is angelic, but the bars KSI is bringing to the table are just not it. And of course, there are spots on this thing where he even struggles on his own, like on the opener The Moment. My disease is going viral, and also beefing like it's 1337. Now they know if I enter, I'm elite. We're doing Leet Speak in 2021. You can't take the nerd out of the boy, I guess. I'm so ahead like I'm wearing a beanie. My shit's so cold I'm Eskimo. And of course, there's no shortage of 007 references on this record too. On the song You, we have KSI showing that his vocals, his singing still could use quite a bit of work. Now, by metric, there's not as much bad singing on this record as there was his last. This is certainly the most excruciating on the vocal side on the entire LP, but but you know, it's still here. The only other track I felt was like a non-starter was the song Flash It, mostly because it's just so goddamn underwhelming. I get that the point of the track is to be chill, but the result is just like a really unmemorable spot on the LP. Now, despite my complaints that I voiced so far, I did manage to find some serious highlights on this thing, some of which were pretty surprising. There is the song Patience, which was one of the teasers to this record that featured Young Blood, Polo G, and shockingly goes in this bright, loud, explosive 80s synth pop rock fusion with just a touch of rap in there. Yeah, it was kind of a weird direction for things to move in as a teaser when I was first exposed to it, but now that I'm acclimated to the sound of this thing, it's a pretty good song. It's got good pacing, good structure. The Polo G intro at the start is a little short, yes, but I'm still happy to hear he sounds this good over this type of instrumental. The Young Blood feature soars, and JJ sounds relatively passionate on the back end in his final verse. Plus, the grooves and bass line on this thing are solid like diamond. It's all around a good track. Rent Free, I thought, was a highlight on the record. I love the sensual feature from Gracie on this one and the way it melds with these primal hand drums and really strange bass lines. But the treat on the track is truly KSI, who is sounding very animated and hungry, monstrous lyrically and vocally, dropping bar after bar, shitting on his detractors. That UNICEF line is pretty slick, and if that other one about paying for the meat is in reference to the ransomware stuff, that's kind of sick too. The track Madness brings exactly that with KSI over this drill beat on this chorus as he's dropping lines like "Gradness, grab it like I'm Atlas." It really does feel like it. He's making use of his husky, deep, bestial voice on this track in a great way, and I love it. Then the song No Time has easily one of his best choruses ever. Those falsetto notes he's hitting on the track really do stick with me. Plus, delivery-wise, I think he mostly holds his own against Lil Durk on this one too. While I'm not really in love with the rest of the record, everything else All Over the Place has to offer is pretty decent. Nothing else overtly offensive or so off base it sounds awful, and I guess you could say this record is an improvement of sorts considering there aren't as many moments here in comparison with KSI's last that sounded just so obviously amateur. With All Over the Place, I think JJ sounds more at home with what he's doing and with his current place in music, and how could he not? He did have some huge tracks in the lead up to this record, even one of the singles that just landed on the deluxe edition of this LP, Holiday, not a favorite of mine, but still, this track racked up tens of millions of streams before the album was even out. So KSI with this record, and right now in the music industry in general, he's winning the numbers game. There's no doubt about that. But there's still the case of this album being so all over the place. And the final result of that is a record that sadly is kind of surface level. Even despite JJ's efforts to toss in a song on the back end where we have some cheeky pianos and he's kind of going over like this inspirational story as to how he got where he is and the decisions that he made to have the success that he has. But even with that, this record just feels like a sampler of rap-adjacent popular music styles that do well on streaming platforms right now, which I guess is one key to success in the music industry these days, and an acknowledgement as to how a lot of audiences consume music, which I guess is fine if you want those streams, but it doesn't really leave too much to dig into at the end of the day. If you want a series of straightforward, simple, formulaic, big budget bops, then give this thing a listen. I mean, this shit is Costco with the gigantic bags of chips as big as your torso. But if you're seeking layers or depth or even a super unique spin on a lot of the sounds that JJ is shooting for on this LP, there's not a lot here. The shelves are bare. Feeling a light to decent 5 on this one, Tran. Zishin, have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best. You're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head, it's another video for you to check out. Hit that upward the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, KSI, forever.